for the Q&A. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Chris. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci d'être ici pour l'annonce de cette décision importante. In 2015, we were elected on a promise to Canadians. We made a commitment to make real change happen in this country and grow the middle class. We also committed to building a real plan to protect our environment and fight climate change. We do not see these goals as irreconcilable. We see them as complementary. You can't have a real economic plan, a real jobs plan in the 21st century unless you have a real climate change plan. We want good middle-class jobs now and good middle-class jobs for our kids. To do that, we need to create wealth today so we can invest in the future. We need to invest in Canadians so they can take advantage of the opportunities generated by a rapidly changing economy here at home and around the world. The policies of the last century will not serve Canadians in this one. That's the approach we take in everything we do, including decisions we make about resource development. In 2016, we announced an approval for the Trans Mountain Expansion Project. The Trans Mountain Pipeline has been in operation for more than 65 years. We approved the twinning of that pipeline, so running a single additional pipe alongside the one that's already there. This project has the potential to create thousands of solid middle-class jobs for Canadians. People in BC, Alberta, and right across the country would have more opportunities to earn a good living. C'est ce qu'on cherche à faire depuis le début de notre mandat. On appuie les Canadiens pendant qu'ils travaillent fort pour créer des emplois et pour bâtir nos communautés. Et notre plan fonctionne. Il a aidé les Canadiens à créer plus d'1 million d'emplois et nous a permis de sortir 825 000 Canadiens de la pauvreté. Créer des emplois, créer les conditions qui permettent aux gens d'améliorer leur vie, c'est là-dessus qu'on travaille chaque jour. Et notre démarche a bien sûr un impact sur la façon dont on analyse les propositions de projets comme TMX. We also believe that TMX could solve a core economic challenge we currently face. It's really simple. Right now, we basically have only one customer for our energy resources, the United States. And as we've seen over the past few years, anything can happen with our neighbors to the south. Now, don't get me wrong, Americans are strong friends, partners, and allies. But Canadians are our own people, and we make our own choices. But we can only make choices when we have choices. And right now, when it comes to our conventional energy, we do not. We have only one customer. 99% of our conventional energy is sold to the United States, often at large discounts. Every business person knows that when you only have a single customer, you're in a weaker position. You're vulnerable to that customer's desires and to changes in their market and policy orientation. We don't think that's an acceptable situation for Canada. Les Canadiens comprennent, aujourd'hui plus que jamais, qu'il faut diversifier nos activités pour rejoindre de nouveaux marchés. Et lorsqu'on doit acheminer le pétrole sur notre territoire, les pipelines sont beaucoup plus sécuritaires que le transport ferroviaire. Donc, quand Kinder Morgan a décidé de se retirer du projet, notre gouvernement est intervenu pour donner suite. Mais disons-nous les vraies choses. Les grands projets ne voient plus le jour de la même façon qu'avant. On ne peut pas juste décider de construire un chemin de fer un jour et commencer à poser les rails le lendemain. Ça ne fonctionne plus comme ça et c'est une bonne chose. Nous avons la responsabilité de tenir des consultations et de procéder de la bonne façon. L'ancienne méthode ne mène à rien. Vous n'avez qu'à demander au gouvernement conservateur qui nous a précédés. That's exactly what the Federal Court of Appeal told us last August. For this pipeline to be considered, they said, we needed to do better. And you know what? They were right. So here's what we did. We directed the National Energy Board to examine the impacts TMX could have on the marine environment and provide recommendations. We doubled the size of our consultation teams and reinitiated Phase 3 consultations with Indigenous communities. This work was overseen by former Supreme Court Justice Frank Iacobucci. Minister Sohi personally met with over 65 Indigenous groups across 46 meetings. And on that, I'd like to thank the Minister and all Indigenous communities for their participation in and commitment to this process. At the end of the day, we listened, and we are acting on what we heard. Indigenous communities said more needed to be done to protect and restore salmon habitat in the Fraser River. They told us they wanted a seat at the table and better information in managing activities affecting the Salish Sea and the project route. They asked that we build on our efforts to protect the southern resident killer whale and its habitat. They said they needed to be better equipped to deal with any kind of marine incident, and that included co-developing a role for Indigenous communities in marine response. We listened to community concerns, and we are acting on community ideas. We're working with Indigenous peoples to co-develop and implement real accommodation measures to make our environment, our coast, and our communities safer, healthier, and better protected than ever before. We have approached this decision with an open mind from the very beginning, and now it's time to take the next step. Today, I am announcing that our government has newly approved the Trans Mountain Expansion Project going forward. The company plans to have shovels in the ground this construction season. We've also been listening carefully to Canadians and hearing about their desire for a cleaner future. That's why we've decided that every dollar the federal government earns from this project will be invested in Canada's clean energy transition. Additional corporate tax revenue alone could be around $500 million per year once the project is up and running. We will invest this money, as well as any profits from the sale of the pipeline, in the clean energy projects that will power our homes, businesses, and communities for generations to come. Aujourd'hui, j'annonce que notre gouvernement a nouvellement approuvé le projet d'agrandissement de l'oléoduc Trans Mountain. L'entreprise planifie de commencer les travaux pendant cette saison de construction. Nous avons aussi entendu les Canadiens qui veulent un avenir plus vert. C'est donc pourquoi nous avons décidé d'investir chaque dollar généré par ce projet dans la transition écologique du Canada. Si on regarde seulement les recettes fiscales additionnelles, on parle d'environ 500 millions de dollars par année une fois le projet terminé. On va investir cet argent et les profits générés par la vente de l'oléoduc dans les projets d'énergie renouvelable qui vont alimenter nos maisons, nos entreprises et nos communautés pour des générations à venir. And finally, we will be launching a new phase of engagement to seek input from Indigenous groups on ways that they could directly share in the benefits of this project. It could be an equity stake, revenue sharing, or something else altogether. We're coming to the table with an open mind. And when it comes to potential Indigenous buy-in, we're not putting a limit on it. Indigenous ownership in Trans Mountain Corporation could be 25%, 50%, or even 100%. These are conversations we're excited to have. By moving forward with TMX, we're creating jobs, opening new markets, accelerating our clean energy transition, and generating new avenues for Indigenous economic prosperity. Now, I know some people are disappointed by this decision. I understand your disappointment. And I know that for some, your concerns are very tangible. To British Columbians who worry about a spill, for example, know that we take your concerns very seriously. I lived in Vancouver when I was a teacher, and I have deep BC roots. I understand your desire to protect your coastline and your ocean because I share it. Our top priority is making sure there's no spill in the first place. But we know we need to be prepared for anything. After 10 years of cuts under Stephen Harper, we've reinvested in the Canadian Coast Guard with new vessels, new environmental response equipment, and new stations on the West Coast, including the reopened Kitts Coast Guard base. Our professionals have never been more ready to respond in the unlikely event of a spill. Je sais que cette décision a suscité beaucoup de questions de la part des Canadiens. Certains se demandent comment je peux affirmer être un leader dans la lutte contre les changements climatiques et en même temps construire un oléoduc. C'est une question qui se pose et qui mérite une réponse. Donc, je leur dis ceci. Il faut regarder les faits. Le but du projet, ce n'est pas d'augmenter notre production de pétrole, c'est d'élargir nos options. Avec TMX, le Canada dépendra moins des États-Unis, qui est présentement notre seul client, et aura accès aux marchés asiatiques qui sont en plein essor. Mais je sais que cette question ne concerne pas seulement les faits. Elle concerne aussi nos priorités en tant que gouvernement. Et oui, mes priorités personnelles en tant que Premier ministre. Je pense que nos priorités sont claires et elles sont très différentes du choix que proposent les conservateurs. We've spent the last 4 years doing more for our environment than any other government in Canada's history, putting a price on pollution, safeguarding our oceans, investing in public transit, reducing plastic pollution, supporting clean tech, expanding electric vehicle incentives, and there's a lot more to be done for sure. And I look forward to talking about our plan for the next 4 years in the election campaign this fall. So to those who want sustainable energy and a cleaner environment, know that I want that too. But in order to bridge the gap between where we are and where we're going, we need money to pay for it. Canada is blessed with natural resources, and with that comes major responsibility. As the world transitions to a cleaner economy, there will be demand for our existing resources. And there are hundreds of thousands of good jobs that currently depend on that demand. The truth is, it doesn't make economic or environmental sense to sell any resource at a discount. Instead, we should take advantage of what we have and invest the profits in what comes next, building the clean energy future that is already at our doorstep. Fundamentally, this isn't a choice between producing more conventional energy or less. It's a choice about where we can sell it and how we get it there safely. We strongly believe that having more options and more markets puts Canada in a stronger strategic position to create good middle-class jobs and invest in our shared future. That is why we made today's decision. Our energy workers, especially those in Alberta, have been hurting for far too long. And that's because the last government couldn't get a pipeline built to global markets, even though they were in power for a decade. Les conservateurs sous Stephen Harper ont essayé et ils ont échoué. Ils ont eu 10 ans pour rejoindre des nouveaux marchés sans succès. Et c'est parce que les conservateurs s'entêtent à vouloir revenir en arrière. Ils veulent répondre aux problèmes d'aujourd'hui avec les solutions d'hier. Ils s'obstinent à exclure les peuples autochtones dans tout ça et à ignorer les préoccupations environnementales. Des préoccupations qui sont d'ailleurs parfaitement légitimes. Je ne dis pas ça pour rien. Je parle ici de leur bilan et d'une politique qui n'a toujours pas changé. In 10 years, the Conservatives built exactly 0 pipelines to new markets, but they did manage to build one thing: extreme animosity between those who want pipelines and those who don't. And today we see that they have learned nothing from that experience. They wanted us to bulldoze our way ahead on TMX even after the Federal Court of Appeal told us we couldn't. You see, Conservatives are fine with dividing Canadians and pitting provinces against each other. But we're focused on getting the best result for all Canadians. Because the national government doesn't just serve small segments of Canadian society, or those with the loudest voices or the deepest pockets. Our job is to serve everyone. That's the difference between us and the Conservatives. We listen to all perspectives. We make changes wherever possible. And we know there is no greater solution than the one built on compromise. The economy is changing rapidly, here and around the world. The old ways won't serve Canadians well today, let alone tomorrow. Creating new middle-class jobs means having an economic plan built for the 21st century. We have that plan, and our record speaks for itself. Over 1 million new jobs and 825,000 Canadians lifted out of poverty since 2015, including nearly 300,000 kids. These results didn't happen by accident, and they're on the ballot this fall. Take a look at my record, and you'll see that I've talked about the importance of developing our resources the right way for a long time. In 2013, I gave a speech at the Calgary Petroleum Club where I said, "It remains a fundamental role of the Government of Canada to get Canadian resources to new markets at home and abroad." But in that same speech, I said that in order to get the job done, Canada needed to have its act together on the environment. Well, 6 years later, I believe that just as strongly today as I did then. My friends, we are a government that cares deeply about the environment. And we care just as deeply about the economic success of Canadians. Contrary to what some politicians will tell you, that isn't an either-or proposition. It is in Canada's national interest to protect our environment and invest in tomorrow while making sure that people can feed their families today. By moving forward with the Trans Mountain expansion and investing the profits in our clean energy future, we're doing exactly that. Environment and economy. Good middle-class jobs. This is how Canada will succeed now and into the future. Merci. Reset.
Okay. So a brief interlude.
They're resetting, and they'll come right back.
No, they're going to reset the tables
It-
so that we can all sit down.
The finance minister's sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do realize that the cameras are rolling, sir. So there's a brief interlude while the podium comes out, and it turns out it was, yes. So as we say at home, hum a little tune, and we'll change the furniture. All right. I heard 25. I've got 12, and that's a hard 12, so I'm going to try to move them as fast. Yeah, okay. I'll have a stopwatch running. Okay. Yes. Yes, that's what my whole thing about before we started this was all about. So, Yeah. Don't worry. So just to recap, it's 25 minutes minimum for questions. I do have 12 of you on the list, so well, the first will be Amia over there in the green. So, and we're going to be flipping languages as much as possible. So, I'm just following the ball that I got. We're doing the standard one question, one follow-up as much as possible. But you know, there are certain former ministers who would take 3 minutes to answer a question. You know. Yeah, as much as possible, I'm trying to do the one question, one follow-up, but at a certain point, you know, yeah. My fear, Mia, is when you get multiple answers. I know. I believe so. I don't know. Yeah, no. Do what you gotta do, dude. Yeah, sure. I can get skinny.
There you go. Well, just right in front of my ear.
Oh, okay.
Just devant le micro.
Devant le micro?
Ouais, devant le micro aussi. C'est eux autres qui vont être jammés.
That works?
You good for test?
Microphone beside Chris. Okay, cool.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got a thumbs up at the back there. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tout est beau? You're good? All good? Tout là-bas?
Mic test 1.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All good? Parfait. Les autres sont
Mic test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good.
Just so you realize, the first question will be to Mia, the second to Alain, and then we'll go down the list. Okay, so Alain, just be ready. We're going to go as fast as we can, right? Broadcasters, good? Yeah. Networks, here we come. Hopefully soon. Mics are open? 10 seconds. Mics are open. Well, I'm excited. Well, how long have we known each other? All right.
Okay, you're good?
Yeah, I think so. Once everyone's... So if everyone is ready, we've worked out the 12 people on the list. I understand we have 25 minutes for questions. Obviously, fast questions and fast answers move things along. And we're going to start with Mia Robson of the Canadian Press.
Hi, Prime Minister. So yesterday, your government passed a motion declaring climate change a national emergency, requiring emissions to be cut even more than we've already promised. And today, you're approving a pipeline that is potentially going to increase emissions significantly. How do you juxtapose those two things?
Part of our climate plan is having an absolute cap on oil sands emissions from Alberta. This is about how we get our resources to new markets in the most efficient way, getting them to new markets, and making sure that we have money to pay for the transition to a green economy.
And I see a lot of discussion about Indigenous partnerships, Indigenous economic benefits. I don't see a lot of discussion, if any, about the possibility of selling it to other parties. Are we not negotiating with anyone else at the moment?
We have made the decision to purchase the pipeline based on de-risking that pipeline. There was political risks that private sector wasn't willing to take on, so we had to purchase the pipeline, but we have no intention of being the long-term operator of that pipeline. That's why we will eventually sell it, and that's why we're looking at Indigenous participation. Bill, you've been leading on that.
Really not much to add. I mean, the situation now is that we're in the process of moving forward, not in the process of actually engineering a sale. We want to make sure that Indigenous participation, meaningful Indigenous participation, is potentially part of the sale, and we need to work on that to make sure that we have a fair process. But we will be seeking new owners at the appropriate time when the project's de-risked.
Ambassador Latour.
La gauche environnementale avait voté pour vous en 2015 et elle ne digère pas du tout votre décision d'acheter un pipeline. Comment convaincrez-vous ces gens-là de ne pas tourner le dos au Parti libéral cet automne et de voter plutôt pour le NPD ou le Parti vert?
On a besoin de nouveaux marchés pour nos ressources pendant que le monde est encore dépendant des ressources conventionnelles et nous avons besoin d'argent pour payer pour l'innovation et la transition nécessaire vers une économie plus verte.
Mais vous pensez vraiment que ça va les convaincre, que l'environnementaliste qui est frustré contre vous va dire « Ah oui, il faut de l'argent du pétrole pour payer les
Je pense que les Canadiens comprennent très bien qu'il faut créer de la croissance économique tout en protégeant l'environnement en même temps, qu'on ne peut pas faire l'un sans l'autre. La réalité, c'est qu'il y a des partis politiques et il y a des personnes qui veulent faire semblant qu'on doit choisir l'un ou l'autre, l'environnement ou l'économie. Mais les Canadiens comprennent qu'il faut faire les deux en même temps. On ne peut pas créer un plan économique sans avoir un plan pour contrer les changements climatiques. C'est exactement ce que nous sommes en train de faire.
David Youngren, Reuters.
Brothers, I got the questions. Just to pick up on Helen's point, I mean, British Columbia could be crucial in the next election. How are you going to win or retain enough votes in that province to stay in power, having just announced you're approving this expansion?
Our focus has been from the very beginning on growing the economy in ways that works for the middle class and on protecting the environment. We have done more to protect the environment than any other government in Canadian history, and we recognize there's more to do, and that's why we're going to continue to have an ambitious plan for the next 4 years that we'll be talking an awful lot about this summer and this fall. But at the same time, Canadians expect to see good jobs and a brighter future for their kids as we manage the transition in a world that is going through rapid changes. We have a plan for that, and Canadians know that we're on the right track.
Secondly, early this afternoon we had a briefing from senior officials. One of them said that the government was fully expecting legal challenges against today's decision. How realistic is it? How can you say that there's going to be construction starting this season if you're being faced with a whole bunch of new challenges?
First of all, we recognize and understand that there are people out there for whom no amount of accommodations or conditions or changes to the plan would have made the purchase of the Trans Mountain Pipeline and the approval of the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion acceptable. Those people will not be convinced by the arguments that we've put forward. We accept that, and they will use the legal means at their disposal to advance that argument. But we also know, from having heard from hundreds upon hundreds of people in consultations, spoken with thousands upon thousands of Canadians across the country in various ways, that people expect us to move forward in ways that both create good jobs for the future and protect our environment for our kids. That's exactly what we're doing today, and that's what we're going to stay focused on.
Marie Maki, La Presse.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Quel niveau d'acceptabilité sociale y a-t-il pour ce projet-là, de cette aventure-là au Québec, selon vous?
Je pense que les Québécois, comme tous les Canadiens, comprennent qu'il faut créer une économie plus verte, qu'il faut payer pour cette transition, il faut exporter nos ressources de la bonne façon. Les Québécois sont, je pense, aussi ahuris que les autres Canadiens de voir l'augmentation faramineuse de pétrole par rail qui se passe à travers le pays. Nous avons tous des souvenirs tragiques du pétrole par rail. La réalité, c'est qu'un oléoduc, c'est la meilleure façon, la plus sécuritaire de transporter nos ressources énergétiques. Et c'est exactement ce que les Québécois et tous les Canadiens comprennent. Ils savent qu'on a un plan réel et concret et extrêmement ambitieux pour contrer les changements climatiques et créer une économie plus verte, mais ça prend des ressources, ça prend de l'argent pour pouvoir financer cette transition.
C'est vu une rencontre du cabinet un peu plus longue que d'habitude aujourd'hui. Jusqu'à quel point est-ce que les ministres sont derrière votre décision, sont unis derrière ça? Et je remarque que Mme Bennett, qui est pourtant responsable des affaires autochtones, n'est pas là. Faut-il en déduire quelque chose?
Je peux vous assurer que si on avait de la place pour tous les membres du cabinet à cette table, tous les membres du cabinet seraient à cette table. Effectivement, on est bien plus que ça, que juste les ministres ici qui sont impliqués dans ce dossier de toutes sortes de façons. Mais je peux aussi vous dire, évidemment, le cabinet est solidaire dans cette décision. Ça fait partie de la promesse qu'on a faite aux Canadiens en 2015 de créer de la croissance économique tout en protégeant l'environnement en même temps et en bâtissant un plan qui va nous amener à un meilleur avenir pour tous, un avenir plus vert, qui a des opportunités pour nos enfants, nos petits-enfants.
David Cochrane, the CBC.
Hi, Prime Minister. There are still some outstanding concerns in the Indigenous communities along the route, including the Coldwater community, which is worried about the pipeline route affecting their water supply. Our understanding from the briefing earlier is that route issue has not been resolved. So what assurances can you give communities like Coldwater that their drinking water is going to be safe?
What the Federal Court of Appeals asked us to do was to go back and do even more consultations and demonstrate that we were taking into account all the very real concerns that various communities had. And that's exactly what we've done. That's exactly what the Minister of Natural Resources has been engaged with over these past months. And Amarjeet, perhaps you'd like to speak directly to the kinds of conversations you've had.
I have met with Chief Lee number of times, and we will continue to work with them, and the corporation will continue to work with them. We know the conclusion of the consultation process does not mean that our engagement with Indigenous community ends. It will continue, and we will continue to explore options with Chief Lee and many of the other Indigenous leaders who still have outstanding issues related to this project.
Understand that you will have consultations with, as of right now, the pipeline route stands, is my understanding, unless there's something we don't know. So are you telling them that the route is going to go where they don't want it to go, or are you open to changing it from this point forward?
There are a number of conversations that are ongoing with his community, and there's a process in place where our teams, as well as the TMC, which is the corporation, that we are exploring options with them on the routing issue, as well as some of the outstanding issues that community has.
Fanny Olivier, Radio-Canada.
Vous avez dit vous-même que, selon vous, la question de l'urne, ça va être l'environnement. Alors, à quel point cette décision-là ne nuit-elle pas à votre crédibilité environnementale et donc à vos chances de réélection cet automne?
Il y a des partis politiques qui prétendent que de s'occuper de l'environnement, ça doit dire qu'on néglige les emplois, qu'on ne se préoccupe pas de la croissance économique et qu'on met notre emphase seulement sur la protection de l'environnement. Il y a d'autres partis politiques qui pensent qu'il faut se foutre complètement de l'environnement et se concentrer seulement sur l'économie. Nous, ce qu'on sait, c'est que non seulement la meilleure façon, c'est de faire les deux en même temps, mais c'est qu'une approche qui se base sur un côté de l'équation sans s'occuper de l'autre ne va pas réussir, ni pour protéger l'environnement, ni pour créer de la croissance économique. Les Canadiens comprennent très bien qu'il faut créer de la croissance et protéger l'environnement. Il faut créer un plan pour l'économie qui comprend que la transformation de notre économie vers une économie plus verte est essentielle pour l'avenir. Et c'est exactement sur ça qu'on est en train de miser. Ce qui a réussi d'abord d'avoir un meilleur bilan environnemental que n'importe quel autre gouvernement canadien et un excellent record économique aussi, où on a vu la création d'1 million d'emplois et qu'on a pu sortir 825 000 Canadiens de la pauvreté.
Est-ce que vous avez des estimations récentes sur combien le projet d'expansion va coûter et en combien de temps vous serez en mesure de l'amortir?
Bill?
Nous sommes, en ce moment, nous n'avons pas exactement les chiffres, mais nous avons entendu de la compagnie de Trans Mountain que le projet est économique. On va avoir les chiffres plus précis pendant les prochaines semaines. Après, on a une considération des permis qu'on doit avoir. Ça veut dire qu'on a encore des choses à faire, mais bientôt, on va avoir plus d'informations.
Joyce Napier, CTV National News.
Prime Minister, so you bought the pipeline, you approved it. When is construction going to begin?
We have been assured by the company that their plan is to start construction this summer. There are still a number of immediate steps to do in terms of permitting, but the plan is to have shovels in the ground this summer.
Are you expecting more court challenges? And if so, will they stop that construction?
The Federal Court of Appeals provided us with a clear blueprint for how we needed to move forward in a way that both deepened and strengthened consultation with Indigenous peoples and strengthened some of the environmental elements they felt were lacking in the original approval in 2016. We worked with former Justice Iacobucci to ensure that we were meeting the high expectations of the Federal Court of Appeal, and we are confident that we have responded to what the court laid out as the right pathway forward towards an approval for this project, and that is the determination we made this morning in Cabinet.
Next question is from Justin from APTN.
Yes, Prime Minister, could you please define free, prior, and informed consent as it was applied to this case in determining whether proper consultations were met?
Well, the essence of the Federal Court of Appeals decision was it's not enough to just speak with or listen to Indigenous communities. We actually have to respond to and work with them to demonstrate that we were making changes based on what they said. That was the recommendation made, and that's exactly what the consultations led to.
Absolutely. Our consultation was very thoughtful, meaningful, two-way, and we listened very carefully to the concerns from the communities. We offered extensive, meaningful accommodations, and the way we responded to NEB 16 recommendations will help us deal with many of the issues that communities have identified, and we are satisfied that we have discharged our duty to consult with Indigenous communities.
We actually made changes to the process, to the NEB conditions based on those consultations, and that is an essential part of free, prior, informed consent.
What is the definition of free, prior, and informed consent then?
It is what we engaged in doing with Indigenous communities over the past number of months. It is engaging, looking with them, listening to the issues they have, and responding meaningfully to the concerns they have wherever possible.
Sean McCarthy, the Globe and Mail.
Prime Minister, you said in French that the goal of the project was not to increase production, and yet there are projections that oil sands production, if new pipelines are built, could increase by 1 million barrels a day from roughly 3 million barrels now. So are you comfortable with that level of increase?
Our plan to reach our Paris targets, which is working and will have us reach our Paris targets, includes an absolute cap on oil sands emissions. That is why we are comfortable that even as we move forward in a world that is continuing to rely on conventional energy for now, while we invest in the future, that we are able to reach those targets even as new resources are developed and old ones go offline. But I'll turn perhaps to Minister McKenna for further talk on Paris targets.
Well, it was extremely important that this project fit within our national climate plan. As the Prime Minister has made clear, it had to fit within the 100 megaton cap for oil sands emissions in Alberta. It was also clear that we needed to have a price on pollution across the country. There are some conservative premiers who don't believe or who believe it should be free to pollute. That's not our approach. And I was also really pleased that all the money from this project will go to fund the clean transition. We have a huge economic opportunity here in Canada. We're blessed with natural resources. Those are resources that are needed for the economy of today, yes, but also for the economy of tomorrow. And we have been investing in this clean transition since we started as a government. We've spent over $50 billion in everything from cleaner transportation so people can get around faster, cleaner, cheaper, in phasing out coal while investing in a just transition for workers. The price on pollution, we're giving the money directly back such that 80% of families are better off. We're investing in clean technology, clean solutions, and I think we can stand on our record. We've created more than 1 million jobs with Canadians while having an ambitious climate plan that makes sure that life is affordable for people and also that we're creating good jobs. That's what we need to continue to do. That's what the whole world is working really hard to do, figure out the transition to a cleaner future. This money that will be invested will accelerate that transition, and we're going to continue to work hard. But we've been clear, we are going to meet our target, and then the whole world needs to do more. And we're seeing the impacts of climate change right now. Unfortunately, we have conservative politicians who do not understand that the environment and the economy have to go together, that we have to take ambitious climate action, and we can do it while life is affordable and we create good jobs.
As a follow-up, would you acknowledge that the increase of export capacity will encourage investment that would increase production in the oil sands, even if that's not perhaps, as you say, the goal of it?
Over the past couple of years, we have seen a near doubling of the amount of oil transported by rail. The question is not whether or not we export our conventional resources, it's where we export them. Right now, we are prisoners to the American market alone, and it's how we export them. We know that rail is both more polluting and more dangerous than a modern pipeline. That is why we're moving forward on accessing new markets and getting more money to invest in the clean energy transition.
Peter Mazur, the Hill Times, please.
Talking about that one buyer problem, is one pipeline going to be enough to solve that problem, or will we need more?
Bill?
Thank you. We're obviously here to talk about the renewed approval for the Trans Mountain Pipeline. We see this as critically important in ensuring that we have access to international markets. We're going to look towards working on this project and working towards a cleaner transition over time. That's an issue that if a proponent decides to bring forward, we'll consider at that time.
And just as a follow-up, if you can't find a buyer for the pipeline right away, next few years, and you're investing all the profits into clean energy projects, how is the government going to pay back to taxpayers the $14 billion it will cost to purchase the pipeline and build the expansion?
That's a lot of hypotheticals. Let me just give you the facts as I see them. We've had numerous outreaches from Indigenous groups that are interested in purchasing this pipeline that have actually worked together with financial backers. We've had corporations that have come to say that they're interested in the potential purchase of the pipeline. We've had our own analysis to say that this project is economic based on every single scenario that we've been presented with. So this is a project that makes good economic sense. It's going to generate significant amount of additional government revenues as a result of the ability to actually collapse some of that discount that we're getting on our current resources. And that's going to be positive for obviously for the long term of our economy, but also for our ability to transition. I'm confident that the scenario that you're painting is not a scenario that we need to consider at this stage.
Second last question is Alex Ballingal, the Toronto Star, please.
It seemed, no matter which way this decision would go today, that it would inflame the divisions that we've seen. Talk of Alberta separation, talk of potential Standing Rock style protests to this decision. Now that it's been made, how do you sort of cool that down and try and move forward?
I think Canadians can see that we've been entirely consistent in our approach since I gave a speech 6 years ago at the Calgary Petroleum Club, highlighting the fact that you cannot build new energy projects in this country without taking into account environmental concerns and without partnering with Indigenous peoples. That is the way things used to be done. You used to be able to decide where a railroad would go and just build it without consulting anyone along the route. The world has changed, and it's changed for the better. We now need to make sure that we are listening to a broad range of voices and working with people to allay concerns and allay fears and make sure that there are partnerships that ensure that there are benefits for everyone. But we know that there are still going to be people who remain unconvinced. But I also know that the vast majority of Canadians understand that we need to grow the economy and protect the environment at the same time. That is what we made as a commitment to Canadians in 2015, and that is we are going to continue to demonstrate every single day with the decisions this government makes, whether it's on historic levels of protection of marine and terrestrial areas, whether it's moving forward with the price on pollution, whether it's protecting our oceans, whether it's investing in the Coast Guard, or on the other side, whether it's about creating good jobs, creating economic growth, driving down unemployment, making life more affordable for Canadians by lowering taxes and delivering more child benefits. These are the things we committed to Canadians to do, and they're exactly what we're doing.
When do you expect the transition to clean energy, Canada's transition off fossil fuels, to be complete? When do you expect us not to need any fossil fuels?
We recognize that the world is looking towards moving towards more renewable sources, and there are a lot of researchers, innovators, entrepreneurs, scientists trying to develop those next solutions for cleaner energy, for cleaner economies. We believe in investing in those solutions. We believe in facilitating those solutions that are going to be part of the transition. But we know it's not going to happen tomorrow.
La dernière personne sur mon liste, c'est Emily Bergeron de Québecor.
Il y a plusieurs opposants au projet qui vont dire que la décision était déjà prise à l'avance malgré le nouvel examen qui a été fait après la décision de la Cour d'appel fédérale, parce que Ottawa a acheté le pipeline, donc il devait faire quelque chose avec. Qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ces gens-là qui vont dire que cet examen-là a servi à rien finalement?
Au contraire, avec la décision de la Cour d'appel, on a regardé de façon attentive les étapes nécessaires pour arriver à une décision aujourd'hui. Aujourd'hui, dans notre discussion, on a regardé attentivement et posé énormément de questions au ministre sur les consultations qui ont été faites, sur les améliorations qu'on a fait au processus depuis 2016, faisant attention particulièrement à ce qui avait été identifié comme lacune dans le processus en 2016. Et on était tous très prêts à dire non, qu'on n'avançait pas si on n'avait pas atteint les attentes qui nous avaient été établies par la Cour d'appel. Donc, on a gardé l'esprit ouvert, on a voulu prendre la bonne décision pour le Canada et on est confiant que c'est exactement ce qu'on a fait.
Il y a une question des accommodements proposés aux communautés autochtones. C'est quoi les principaux accommodements?
On a fait plusieurs changements aux conditions affixées à ce projet, mais on va avoir plus de détails donnés en temps et lieu à ce niveau-là. L'important, c'est de démontrer qu'on, contrairement aux conservateurs, nous, on ne voit pas ceux qui ont des questions ou des préoccupations par rapport à tout projet comme étant des adversaires. Nous considérons que c'est des partenaires avec qui il faut travailler pour créer de la croissance économique et améliorer notre situation au pays pour les générations futures. Donc, nous les avions écoutés, nous avions travaillé avec eux autant que possible pour résoudre leurs préoccupations, pour tamiser leurs inquiétudes et pouvoir bâtir une solution qui fonctionnera pour tous. Il n'y a aucun grand projet qui va avoir unanimité, mais certainement d'avoir démontré une approche sérieuse qui prend en compte les préoccupations que les gens partagent, c'est ce à quoi les Canadiens s'attendent de nous.
Prime Minister, that's the end of my list. Thank you once again for using the National Press Theatre. Thank you, Ministers.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be
Happy
here.
voting.
Merci tout le monde.
Voting. Yeah.
There's a number of votes.
Soon. Oh, well. Executive privilege.
Yeah, that sounds so great.
Well, yeah, flight to Calgary. Anyway, good to see you. Thank you, everyone. That was by the numbers, so really appreciate it. Sorry?
I wasn't on the list?
No. No, I never saw you wave, dude.
Really?
Yeah.